Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the short-term pullback is continuing for the price of Bitcoin, but we are now seeing a new signal flash on the chart that we need to pay attention to, as the Bitcoin whales are buying more Bitcoin right now. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is still currently forming this massive pattern right now. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, taking a look at some Bitcoin news today, and Michael Saylor just announced that MicroStrategy officially bought another 122 Bitcoin, adding to their holdings, which means MicroStrategy now holds 214,400 Bitcoin. And so, as Michael Saylor himself has said in the past, basically anytime MicroStrategy gets an extra bit of cash in their holdings, they basically convert any spare cash into Bitcoin. And so essentially MicroStrategy, which is one of the largest Bitcoin whales out there, they do have one of the largest holdings out of anyone in Bitcoin. And they've made it very clear, not just by the words of Michael Saylor, but by the actions that are actually taking place. They've made it very clear that MicroStrategy is not slowing down. They're not stopping these purchases anytime soon. And they also don't really care about what the Bitcoin price is that they're buying at. They're basically always converting US dollars into Bitcoin. And so no matter if the price is pumping, dumping, or going sideways, MicroStrategy once again is pretty much always converting any spare US dollars into Bitcoin. And really the main reason as to why they're converting any spare cash into Bitcoin is because Michael Saylor and a lot of people at MicroStrategy understand that Bitcoin has better monetary properties than the US dollar. Because obviously the US dollar has no supply cap, and at any point in time, the Federal Reserve can print any amount of US dollars that they want to. And so essentially, if you're holding onto a large sum of US dollars, you can be diluted in your supply of US dollars. You can be diluted by any amount at any time. And obviously, that's the same with every fiat currency in the world: the Australian dollar, the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, the British pound, etc. Basically, any of those government-backed currencies can be printed by any amount at any point in time by the central banks of those nations. But of course, Bitcoin, you cannot simply just print more Bitcoin at any time. It has a fixed supply, and in order to change that supply, you would have to hard fork Bitcoin, which basically means creating a new coin altogether. And as I shared here on my Twitter, the Bitcoin whales are loading up on cheap Bitcoin right now. So if you're panic selling Bitcoin right now because of the short-term pullback, you're only going to make the whales richer. Because once again, the smart money, the billionaires out there understand that Bitcoin and assets in general that have finite supply have superior properties than fiat currency if you're holding them over long periods of time. But anyway, with that being said, getting into the Bitcoin charts today, looking at the 3-day time frame, and as of right now, the price of Bitcoin is technically still within a larger bullish trend on the larger time frames, also known as a bull market. And in case you're new to all of this, even a bullish market can contain short-term pullbacks here and there. In fact, this very bull market that we've been in since around the beginning of 2023 has had multiple pullbacks of more than 20% along the way. And so it's important to understand that nothing moves in a straight line, and we're always going to see some short-term volatility if we're looking at smaller timeframes. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, we can still see the price of Bitcoin is potentially forming a massive bullish flag pattern, but this only really confirms with a bullish price target if we see a confirmed breakout above this line of resistance, which is sitting at around 71,500. And it's also very important, at least in the shorter term, for the bulls to hold above this line of support, which is sitting at around 60 to 61,000. Because basically, if we start seeing candle closes on the daily time frame or any larger time frame below $60,000 back into the 50K range, then in that scenario, it would actually be quite likely that we could return towards this next major area of support and resistance, sitting at the lower 50K prices, around 51 to 52K, give or take. But obviously, as of right now, that scenario has not confirmed because we have not yet confirmed a break below this line of support. And so at least as of right now, in the somewhat short term, the price is basically just in a consolidation range during a much larger bullish trend. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY, this is once again experiencing a bit of a short-term pullback just over the last one day. And so as I've said recently here on the channel, if this pullback continues in the DXY, then it's actually quite likely that we could see more of a bullish reversal in the price of Bitcoin when we're talking about the larger moves here. But once again, during these larger bullish moves, we can see short-term dumps here and there, so just keep that in mind. But basically, while the DXY is pulling back, that is a good sign for Bitcoin and crypto when we're talking about the larger moves on the chart. But if we're taking a look at the short term, obviously over the last few days, the price of Bitcoin has been pulling back in the short term, basically ever since we confirmed to break to the downside from this bearish rising wedge pattern, which I mentioned here on the channel all the way back here. And since then, we've already hit the first major price target for that bearish pattern, which was sitting at around 62,500 approximately. But there is also the full complete technical price target for the rising wedge, which is sitting at the bottom of the wedge at around 60 to 61,000, give or take. And so just keep that in mind. There's still a possibility that we could see a little bit more short-term bearish price action before eventually at some point later on heading back to the upside. And if we're taking a look at this 4-hour Bitcoin chart, right now the price of Bitcoin has just confirmed a new bullish divergence on the 4-hour time frame by confirming lower lows in the price in the candle closes and higher lows in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And the last bullish divergence that we saw actually confirm on the 4-hour time frame was right back here, roughly around half a month ago. And we can see the outcome of that previous bullish divergence. Obviously, we saw a bullish relief over the next 1 week approximately. And usually a bullish divergence plays out in the form of a bullish relief in the short term, or sometimes just a sideways consolidation as the most likely outcomes just over the next few days here. And especially when you consider the fact that we have major support in this region in between 61 to 62,000 with some support at around 60,000. Basically, I would not be surprised if we do see a little bit of a break from that short-term pullback, once again in the form of a sideways consolidation or possibly a bit of a bounce back to the upside at some point within the next few days or so. But this signal by itself on the 4-hour time frame is not necessarily enough to confirm a massive bullish trend reversal, so just keep that in mind. And as for short-term resistance on this chart, these levels have not changed over the last 1 day. So if you're new to the channel and you want to know these levels of resistance, then check out my last video here on the channel. And if you want to actually trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin, no matter if we're bearish or bullish, you can make money in either direction with long positions or short positions. And personally, I trade those moves over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive 200 USDT airdrop position. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can still see some short-term liquidity to the downside, sitting at around 61,500 approximately. And so, like I just said earlier, there's still a possibility that we could see a little bit more short-term bearish price action just to take out that little bit of liquidity to the downside. But with that being said, we still have a massive amount of liquidity to the upside, mainly sitting at around 67,500. And so ultimately, it's very likely that sometime soon the price of Bitcoin is going to move back up towards that area of liquidity, because in case you're new to all of this, usually the price of Bitcoin moves towards where there's a lot of liquidity, especially if it's close to the price. And with that being said, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily time frame, and right now the price of ETH is potentially still forming this massive falling wedge pattern. And as of right now, this support line for this pattern is sitting at around 2.9k, with this resistance line sitting at around 3.4k. And statistically speaking, a falling wedge is a bullish pattern because around 2/3 of the time it breaks out to the upside, and around 1/3 of the time we see a falling wedge break to the downside, which basically means it's not impossible to see a break to the downside from a falling wedge, but that's simply the less likely scenario. But either way, we simply just need to wait to actually confirm a breakout above this resistance in order to actually confirm the bullish price target and this pattern in play. And the price target to the upside for this falling wedge, once we actually confirm a breakout above this resistance, that price target would be sitting at the top of the wedge at around 4.1k. But once again, as of right now, that price target is not yet confirmed. It is not yet active because we have not yet confirmed a breakout above this resistance. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 8-hour time frame, obviously over the last one day, we saw that move to the upside and then a slight pullback to the downside back below this previous area of resistance, which was sitting in between around 3.2k to 3250. And so this is technically a sign of a weakness in the short term. Obviously, that breakout to the upside is now invalid because if we break back below a level on the chart, that invalidates the breakout to the upside. And so technically speaking, while we're still forming higher lows and higher highs, that is still technically bullish price structure, which means the price is currently more bullish than bearish. But with that being said, it is quite clear that at the moment, the price is lacking momentum. So even though we're currently more bullish than bearish, we are lacking extreme bullish momentum. We do not have a lot of bullish momentum. And so like I said earlier in the video for Bitcoin, how Bitcoin is basically in a massive consolidation range during a much larger bullish trend. We're basically seeing something similar for the price of ETH, where Ethereum is basically chopping around, looking relatively neutral, not a lot of momentum in the short term. But once again, when we're zooming out on much larger timeframes, that's occurring within a much larger bullish trend. It's just we're taking a break at the moment from the larger bullish trend on the weekly chart, for example. And obviously, if we're taking a look at this 8-hour time frame with the break back below that line at around 3250, once again, like I just said, that technically invalidates this breakout to the upside, which now invalidates this cup and handle pattern and that bullish breakout. But what is not invalidated is this massive bullish divergence still currently active on the weekly time frame for the price of ETH versus Bitcoin. This is Ethereum versus Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. And since yesterday, we've just confirmed another weekly candle close, now 2 weekly candle closes in the green, which once again technically confirms this bullish divergence in place. And if you want to know more about this chart right here, which is something important to pay attention to, if you want to know more about this chart, then check out my last video here on the channel, because in that video, I went into much more detail about this chart right here. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana, just giving you a quick update on the 8-hour time frame, as of right now, the price is still basically in this sideways consolidation range in between this support and this resistance. First of all, we have a major area of support in between around 120 to 128 with some short-term support at around 133. And as for resistance, we do have some short-term resistance that we've just recently found at around 144, but we have a major area of resistance in between around 150 to 155 with some more resistance at around 160. But essentially, ever since 2 weeks ago, the price has been chopping around sideways in this sideways price range, once again in between this support and this resistance. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, no matter if the price is bullish or bearish, you can make money in either direction. And if you want to trade those moves, check out those links down below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways like it is at the moment, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.